Hey gang, Ronan here. As you can see in this game, I'm playing the Tier 9 Russian Premium Destroyer Neustrashimy. Matchmaking is pretty good. No CV, no submarines. There's a little bit of radar in the form of an Alaska and a Kronstadt, possibly a Neptune, but it's very unlikely. Without aircraft, I'm expecting this to be a much better game than the one I played just prior to this, where I was literally under aircraft for probably 3/4 of the game. Very difficult to do much. I was in the fight the whole game, and I did shoot down a pretty good number of aircraft and managed to kill or two and did a lot of damage, but it was a very rough game. This game, why am I showing you this game? Well, one, I love this ship. If you've seen my uh, YouTube videos here before, you know I really like this ship. But it also serves as a really great kind of DD primer, I think. So I wanted to explain kind of my thought process and some things that I look for when I'm playing. So I'm going to pause this here for just a second. Game's just starting. Kitakaza is heading straight for A. I'm not going to. I'm going to come along the side here and I'll explain that in a minute. Kitakaza is taking a big risk if he goes nose in. That's not a very maneuverable destroyer. My recommendation, if you're going to try and cap at the north end of a cap or the south end of the cap, if you spawn down here, come to the cap, turn, and then back in. It allows you to accelerate away from potential torpedo strikes or away from volleys of guns if you happen to get radared. And going nose into a cap, always really dangerous. Another thing, and if you keep an eye on this Kitakaza through the game, you'll see what I'm talking about. If, let's say, for example, and a little bit later it's going to be this way, let's say that the line of red ships is something like this, okay? If you sit broadside with your ship like this, there's a really high likelihood if torpedoes come from anywhere along that line, they're going to be able to hit you. Now, conceptually, it's pretty straightforward. Let's just say that this curved line right here, let's say that's your ship. And let's say you expect that there's a destroyer over here. If you've got your ship running this direction to the likely direction of a torpedo strike, you've minimized the surface area for the torpedoes to hit. So the torpedoes could potentially just slide right by on either side. But if you expect that there's a destroyer over here, up here, and you're sitting with your ship broadside to that area where you expect that there might be a destroyer, there's a lot more surface area for your ship to get hit on, a lot more area for torpedoes to strike, and especially in a ship that is not very maneuverable. Kitakaza, Harugumo, Akazuki, they are not. They are more like cruisers in terms of their handling than they are destroyers, especially in those, but really in all destroyers. Try to create the most narrow profile you can to what you consider the most likely potential strike of torpedoes from a red ship. Now, right now, that's going to be from down here somewhere, right? Watch his positioning. He's going to go nose in, which again, if he has to get away, means he has to turn, show broadside. Takes forever, especially in this ship. He can back in. A little bit later, again, if you're watching the minimap, you're going to see that he's kind of angled like this when he knows there's a destroyer over here. And he does, in fact, get taken out later by the Yugumo. So I point all that out as a kind of a cautionary tale and to explain what you're going to see me do here. I am going to kind of move along this side of the cap. I don't want to go into the cap. Why? Well, we know that there is radar, right? There's Alaska, Kronstadt. Potentially there's radar on the Neptune. And I don't know where any of those ships are yet. Now you can see I've pinged the Pommern because it looked to me like he was heading center. And I thought, all right, as soon as I saw that, maybe a brand new player. It's Pommern B. So maybe he bought a crate, got the ship, and is a brand new player. I also suspect that might be the case anytime somebody's really friendly at the beginning of the game in a high tier random match. Well, let's just face it. It's generally pretty salty, pretty gritty at high tiers, especially in randoms. And when somebody's really friendly, although I appreciate friendliness, and I really do, I always have to wonder, is this a co-op player who's just kind of moving into randoms Co-op is a much more friendly environment, if you don't know. Much more friendly. Or are they brand new and just got this premium ship? So anyway, he does turn this way, but I'm kind of expecting that the Pomeran is probably just going to head straight south and then get himself blapped. So my hope is that he just manages to take someone with him. I spot the Neptune, and I ping him, and you can see that he is broadside. He's doing exactly what our Kitakaze is doing. He's broadside to Pomeran, Izumo, and Carnot. And this is one giant floating citadel. So that's not something you want to do in a Neptune. And that's why. And that's true for Neptune, it's true for Minotaur, it's true for Edinburgh, it's true for Fiji. It's true for all of the Royal Navy light cruisers, in my opinion. Now, why am I not chasing down the Tashkent? Well, you can see he's running away. I don't have to worry about him. His torpedoes only have 8 kilometers of range, so I'm going to move into the cap. The fact that he's detected is all I need. He's far enough away, I don't have to worry about him, and it's still early in the game, so if he's lighting fires on these guys, those fires will burn themselves out, and I'll get a chance later to contend with the Tashkent if one of these guys doesn't take him out before then. I want to try and get torpedoes on one of these battleships while I try and secure the cap. Now right now I know that the Alaska was here. I still don't know where the Kronstadt is located, but I'm going to risk going into the cap here and see whether or not. And there's the Yugumo, and you can see it was with torpedoes taking out our Kitakaze, who was, look at where the red ships are, right here. And his ship was at a right angle to that. So he was showing the widest possible, right, to the potential strike area of the torpedoes, and he got blapped. Now, why am I critical of that? Well, these guys had to see torpedoes, right? That couldn't have been, we're 4 minutes in, that couldn't have been the first torpedo strike from the Yugumo. So they knew more or less where the Yugumo was, and he still sat that way. It's not personal. I only point that out to try and help you if you're trying out destroyers or neuter destroyers. Just try and avoid having that happen to you. Now I threw those torpedoes out on the off chance that Georgia pushed forward. The fact that he didn't tells me he's probably a really experienced, probably a pretty good player, and in fact, he is. I checked on it after the game, and kudos to him. He's an excellent player. So my focus is now shifting to the Lion. I've got almost a minute until my torpedoes come back up. I think I can probably get closer. I don't think Georgia's going to come back out of there. I think he's just inching forward and backward to avoid the airstrikes from Johanna Witt. And here comes the Pomeran. Georgia has good secondaries, but I'm sure he's not going to want to square off with the Pomeran, who also has torpedoes in addition to good secondaries. You can see briefly the smoke from the Tashkent out there. I know he's still not a worry yet, so I am going to make sure that I'm behind the island, and I'm going to get a lot closer in an effort to try to get torpedoes on the Lion. I've got Izumo pushing up, I've got Pomeran pushing south, although he's right now showing broadside to the Lion. I don't know, maybe Lion can't get a shot around the corner of that island. Now our guys on the other side, they're really kind of crippled because they've got a Yugumo out there that they have to deal with. And our Riga is, I think, rightly concerned about getting blapped. Now there's someone you'll see a little bit later if it hasn't happened already in the chat box. And our Missouri is already giving up. And I think he's, at this point, he's going to say something about the CC if he hasn't already. There was a lot of, we'll call it acrimony on the other side of the map from my team. Disappointment in the level of play, etc. Now, why did I put the torpedoes out there? Well, it looked to me like the Lion was either slowing down or turning or both. So I tried to gauge if he was turning, where the torpedoes needed to be as he was turning. I misjudged it a little, but I still land some torpedoes. And I'm just going to sit right here. I don't have to go anywhere. I think Izumo, Palmer, Johan de Witt, I think that's enough to keep the Georgia right where he's at. He's going to move forward and back to avoid the airstrikes, but I don't think he's going to push out. Now, watch the HP on this land. The heal on these Royal Navy battleships is just insane. If I'd have hit him with one more, I think I'd have got him, but I didn't. So now I'm just trying like mad to get a fire started. Watch how low his HP gets. It's 3,000 something, right? Now watch what it looks like when we see him again. Yeah, it's almost 10,000, over 10,000 now. Now I feel like I'm aiming pretty decently here, but my shells just keep falling short. And you can see the Missouri in the chat box. The Missouri is complaining about, I think, our Neptune. I don't know. I don't know who over there is a CC. I didn't check that out, but our Missouri is just in a rage. Okay, Georgia may come far enough around that corner to detect me, and I am really close, so I have to fall back a little bit to make sure that when my smoke runs out in 23 seconds, that I'm not sitting here and get detected. There's an HE from the Lion and the secondaries from the Georgia. It wouldn't take them very long to rob me of all my HP. Now I only threw one set out there on the Lion because I wanted to have torpedoes available in case the Georgia pushed out. He's not, but that's all right. Now I think our Izumo's in trouble here. I wish I had a smoke to be able to drop for him. And at this point I'm thinking, Izumo's about to get sunk. I need to do something about the attachment. Palmer is going to, I hope, finish off the Lion, although he may get the Georgia. He's still basically at full health, Palmer, but he's making a YOLO rush. And I know he's going to get sunk. I know that. He's got Lion to contend with, Georgia to contend with, but also Musashi, and you can see Kronstadt. There's no way the Palmer is going to survive that. It's just a question of whether he can take out one ship or maybe, I mean, it's potentially two ships. If you were to, like, from here, torpedo, and then get guns on somebody. But again, I think probably a brand new player. So my expectations are not real high. Thought about throwing the torpedoes on the Georgia. Glad that I didn't, though, ultimately. You can see the Yugama now has taken out our Riga. That was the radar we had on that side. And we still got Missouri, but he's been complaining and whining basically the whole game. I think he's I think he's probably maybe a little too angry to be a whole lot of help. I don't know whether Skubitz is a good player, and I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he's a little hot under the collar right now. So our Palmer does finish off the Georgia, and their Musashi takes out our Palmer. No surprise there. Tashkent, you know, I've thrown the torpedoes out there in the hope that he's going to continue in more or less a straight line. Now I have to decide, do I want to target him with guns? There's a commander skill that will tell someone how many people are targeting them with guns. So as long as I keep the torpedoes active, if he has that skill, he's not going to see that it's usually right around here. It'll tell you how many ships are targeting you. So why am I debating here real quickly? Why am I debating whether or not to switch to guns? Because if I do, let's say that there's two ships right now targeting the Tashkent. He sees two up here. If I target him, he sees three. So then since he can only see two ships here, he knows there's got to be a DD that can spot him that he can't see, right? And then he changes course and speed, making my torpedoes much more likely to miss, unless he's not a very good player, which is possible. So why do I do what I do? Because you're going to see here in a second, I'm going to switch to guns. Why do I do that? Because I've got him detected, and I'm counting on Johan de Witt, although he's behind an island. He's got airstrikes, and he's going to have the potential to get guns on this guy, and so is our Carnot. And so if the torpedoes miss, I want to be able to get guns on this guy to distract him. I've got smoke back up. I can always hide. But I want to do what I can to keep this guy lit up for my team as much as possible. Smoke in an emergency, but otherwise focus on trying to kill this guy. I'm hoping these torpedoes will do the trick. But if they don't, I want to have my guns ready and aimed so that I can help finish this guy off. Although I'm counting on help from these guys. So let's just see how this plays out. See, I've just switched to the guns. So if he's using that commander skill, he knows that there's somebody out here that can see him. Is he going to change speed, change direction? Just having a look over here and make sure nothing is sneaking up on us. And he turned, but it was too late. He did eat a torpedo. And Carnot was able to finish him off. And I've got speed boost active because I want to get back over here. I want to do what I can to slow these guys' advance toward our cap. We've got two cruisers here. They've got Neustrashimy, which of course is a battleship, and Kronstadt, which is arguably a battleship, although it is classified as a cruiser. Very, very heavy guns. Our cruisers are really going to struggle against these guys. So I have to do what I can to try to help slow down the advance of these two ships toward the cap. Now, I have to worry about radar. That is a fact. Thinking about making a shot. I'm just going to see what happens with the airstrike here. Now, the first one did a little bit of damage. The second one did a little bit of damage. See if I can start a fire. Kronstadt just fired his guns. I'm going to turn a little bit to get the rear guns. So I've got a little bit of time till Kronstadt's guns reload. And did you see the radio location indicator change? Kind of wondering about that. There's a comment from the Missouri about, I think, about our Neptune player, which, I don't understand. Neptune's still in the game. You saw what happened to the Neptune on the other team, right? You misplay in that ship and you get blapped. And our Neptune is still in the game and he's sunk a ship. So I honestly and truly have no idea why our Missouri is so lit up about this guy. Now I have to be really careful here. I do not want to get detected by Kronstadt, and I also, if I can, want to get torpedoes on the Neustrashimy. Wish I had both sets up and ready, but I don't. Just the one. I'm going to turn and try to stay behind this island because I'm expecting radar anytime now. Smoking for the Carnot, hoping to keep him alive a little bit longer. I know there's a radar there, but I see the JB, and our Carnot is just, he's in really big trouble. Now, he made the mistake of firing there. I really wish he hadn't, but it didn't really make any difference. I think he was already detected, and he is sunk. Meanwhile, our Neptune, the guy that our Missouri's been complaining about, finishes off the Johann de Witt. So, 2 kills for our Neptune. It's taken no end of heat from our Missouri. Meanwhile, the bad guys have secured the A cap. They've still got their original cap here, and we're barely hanging on by a thread at the Delta cap. I land a couple of torpedoes. There's the radar. I've got to turn and try and make use of this island before I get myself blapped. Russian radar doesn't last long. 25, 30 seconds. So I just have to avoid getting sunk. Trying to light a fire on the Jean Bar. $29 and $30, and that's it. Okay, so I'm going to swing around here and try and get another torpedo or two on the Jean Bar. Have to agree with our Neptune there in the chat box. We're winning. We're up by almost 100 points. We've got a 1-ship advantage. Both teams with a cap. And I think we're in a little bit better position to win the game. Get those torps in the water. Now I'm going to race north here and get as close to this island as possible. I got to keep my distance. If I get detected by that Jean Bar, not only will his main guns be on me, but his secondaries. And while I still have a lot of HP, I do not want to risk getting sunk here because it's just me and the Johann de Witt, and I don't expect him to be around long. I did throw some torpedoes out there for the Kronstadt, but I think he's a little too cagey for those to hit. He knows I'm here. I land 3 on Jean Bar, managed to sink him. Now I'm facing off with 2 radar cruisers, Kronstadt and Alaska. Now Kronstadt's radar went not too long ago, so I've got to be careful of Alaska's radar, but I need to start falling back. There goes our Johann de Witt. Neustrashimy guns finish him off, and I'm all alone over here. Now the good news is our team, led by the Neptune, oh, that was close, is pushing into the Alpha Cap. So our 114-point lead will probably be enough, and I'm trying to get to 12 kilometers distance from the Kronstadt because his radar is going to be up again any second. But I'm going to take a little bit of a chance. I don't want to get too close. I'm going to take a little bit of a chance trying to get my torpedoes away to slow their advance into the cap. But I'm going to get caught here. You can see I'm right at the 12 kilometers, and there's the radar. So I have to turn north because he's getting closer to me, 11.8 now. And Kronstadt and Alaska guns, they're fairly accurate. But if I just manage to stay alive, and I'm out of radar range now, I think we've got this game in the bag. We've got 4 ships pushing through the Alpha Cap. I'm tying up these 2 radar cruisers on this side. It's just the Musashi and the Saint Louis on the other side for the red team. And the Riga, I think Riga and Missouri, just they wanted to lose so they could be right, I think. So I know the Kronstadt radar has got to be down. It's just the Alaska that's possible now. And so I throw the torpedoes out there in the hope of hitting somebody trying to secure that cap. You can see somebody's in it now. But this is going to be over here in just a second. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. It was fun for me to kind of explain my thought process in a little more detail than I'm able to. I really appreciate you joining me. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to see them, as long as they're friendly. Thanks again. I really appreciate you being here. If you haven't already, I really hope you'll like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.